Hey guys, welcome to Hexagon Digital Services. In this bootcamp, we'll be learning web development using MERN stack. We will start with the front end covering HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React.js and Tailwind CSS. Once you have completed the front end, you will work on building a project to apply what you have learned. Next, we will move on to the backend where we will dive into MongoDB, Node.js and Express. After that, you will build the backend for the frontend project you created earlier, bringing everything together into a complete application. So let's get started with the first video on HTML. HTML is like a skeleton of a body. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and is the standard language used to build web pages. It defines the structure of the web page through the collection of the elements. These elements guide the browser on how to display different parts of the content. With HTML, you can label content to specify its purpose, such as heading, paragraph, link, and many more. Create a folder in your desktop, open it in VS Code. Now create a file intro.html. .html is the extension used to create a HTML file. Now type exclamation mark, press enter. This will generate a boilerplate in your HTML file. We begin with the doctype HTML. This simply tells the browser that the document is written in HTML5, the latest version of the HTML. Next, HTML lang equals to en in double quotes. This states that a HTML page is set to English. Now we open the head section. The head contains the information about the page that is not directly visible on the screen. Inside the head, we have meta charset equal to UTF-8 that ensures that all kinds of characters correctly displayed, whether they are English letters, symbols, or even emojis. Then meta name equal to viewport, content equal to width, device width, initial scale equal to 1.0. This line makes the page responsive, meaning it will adjust properly on mobiles, tablets, and computers. Next, the title tag. Whatever we write here appears on the browser tab. For example, we will write Hexagon Digital Services and it will appear as a Hexagon Digital Services on the browser tab. As you can see here that the browser tab's name is Hexagon Digital Services. Now let's write in a body tag. We will start with heading tags. First comes h1 tag. H1 tag is the most important tag in the HTML. In total there are 6 headings: h1, h2, h3, h4, h5 and h6. H1 most important, h6 least important. H1, this is the main heading, the biggest and the most important title on the page. Next, h2, this is a slightly smaller heading usually used for subtitles. Then H3, which is a smaller again, think of it like a section heading. After that, H4, even smaller, often used for subsection inside a topic. Then comes H5, which is less emphasized, and H6, the smallest heading, used rarely for minor notes. Now, for regular text, we use p tag. P tag stands for paragraph. It is used to write normal sentences and longer pieces of the text. The browser will display it as a block of text. HTML attributes. All HTML elements have some attributes. Attributes provide additional information about the element. They are specified in the start tag. Attributes usually come in a name value pairs like name equal to value. The A tag defines the hyperlink. The href attribute specifies the URL of the page the link goes to. Now comes HTML images. The HTML image tag is used to embed an image in a web page. Images are not technically inserted into a web page, rather they are linked to a web page. The image tag creates a holding space for the referenced image. The image tag is an empty tag. It contains attributes only. It does not have a closing tag. Create a new folder with the name images. Now paste the images you want to show on your web page. The image tag has two attributes, src and alt. src stands for source and it tells the browser where to find the image file. Next, alt stands for alternative text. If the image fails to load, the alternative text appears in place of the image. We use width and height attribute to set the height and width of the image. The style attribute in HTML is used to add CSS directly to an HTML element. It allows you to change the appearance of a single element without writing a separate CSS file. Inside the style attribute, you use CSS properties and their values separated by semicolons. Let's write three paragraphs in our HTML code and see how we can style them. Change the color of the text. In the opening tag of the paragraph, we use style attribute using color property, providing a values red, blue, and green. The BR tag stands for break. It is used to move the text to a new line. Unlike a paragraph tag P, it doesn't add extra space before or after the line. It simply breaks the line where it is placed. The BR tag is an empty tag, which means it doesn't have a closing tag. It is useful when you want line breaks inside the text without creating a new paragraph. Now let's see what happens if we write like this in our paragraph tag. Does it display in the same manner? No, it just simply prints it in a one line. We can use BR tag, which will break the line where it is used. HTML horizontal rules. The HR tag defines a thematic break in an HTML page. It is often displayed as a horizontal line on a web page. It is an empty tag, which means it has no end tag. The pre tag in the HTML is used to display pre-formatted text. The text inside the pre-element appears in a fixed width font, retains spaces and line breaks exactly as they are written in the code. HTML provides several elements to format text. B element is used to make the text bold. Strong element is used to make the text having strong importance. I element is used to make the text italic. Sub element is used to make the text appear slightly below the normal line. SUP element is used to make the text appear slightly above the normal line. For example, if you want to write H2O, so you will be using sub element, and if you want to write x square, you will be using SUP element. Now let's practice some of the text formatting elements. These are the text formatting elements we used in our last code. The block quote tag is used to display a block of text as a quotation. It is usually used for long quote from another source, not just a single line. Browser typically indent the text inside the block code to visually separate it from the rest of the content. It helps make quotation stand out clearly in the articles, blogs, or any web content. The address element in HTML is used to define the contact details of the author or owner of a document or article. This information usually include email address, website URL, physical address, phone number, social media profiles. By default, the text inside the address tag is usually displayed in italic. Browser automatically add a line break before and after the address element. In HTML, comments are pieces of text that are ignored by the browser and not displayed on the web page. We use comments to add notes, explanation, or reminders inside the code for ourselves or other developers. A comment starts with a greater than sign, exclamation, hyphen hyphen, and ends with hyphen hyphen, ex- less than sign. Anything written in between will not appear on the page. Comments are very useful for documenting your code, explaining sections, or temporarily disabling parts of your HTML, or temporarily disabling parts of your HTML while testing. Lorem ipsum is a placeholder text commonly used in web designing and publishing. It doesn't have any real meaning. It's used to fill the space and show how the text will look in the layout. For example, when designing a web page, instead of writing the actual content, designers often use lorem ipsum so they can focus on how the page looks. It is a helpful tool for visualizing content without getting distracted by actual words. I have used the style attribute in the body tag to add a background color and I have set its value beige color. Now let's style the h1 tag. Now let's use border property of a style attribute and set it to 2 pixel. Now let's move to HTML colors. In three ways we can add colors in HTML. The first one is RGB colors. In HTML, colors can be defined using RGB values with a formula RGB, red, green, blue in the bracket. Each parameter takes a value from 0 to 255 which controls the intensity of that color. In total, we have 1,67,77,216 possible color combinations. RGBA colors. RGBA is an extension of RGB that includes an alpha channel, which is used to add transparency in the color content. It has values from 0.0 to 1.0. In HTML, hex color values can be defined using the hexadecimal value in the format hash RRGGBB. Each part represents a color component in a hexadecimal 00 to FF, which equals to 0 to 255. RR stands for red, GG stands for green, and BB stands for blue. So for example, hash double F 0000 represents red color, red at max, green and blue at 0. Similarly, red at 0, green at max and blue at 0. And if all the values are 0, then it will represent a black, and if all the values are F, then it will represent a white. HSL color values. Colors can also be defined using HSL format. H stands for hue, S for saturation, L for lightness. In hue, 0 stands for red, 120 to green, and 240 equals to blue. Saturation a percentage showing intensity. 0% means gray, 100% means full pure color. Lightness a percentage showing brightness. 0% means black, 100% means white. HSLA is an extension of HSL that includes an alpha channel for transparency. 0.0 a fully transparent, 1.0 fully opaque. Now let's see how we can add color to the content of the HTML using the above three ways discussed now. We saw a tag earlier in the video, but here our main focus is on the target attribute. The target attribute determines where the linked page will be open. If we use target is equal to blank, the link opens in the new tab or window. Other values for the target include self, which opens the link in the same tab, parent, and top for the different frames. Through blank is the most common. So in short, a tag creates a clickable link, href defines the URL, and target controls where the link opens. When we create hyperlinks or link to images in HTML, we use URLs, which can be absolute or relative. An absolute URL is a full web address including the protocol and domain. For example, https colon www.example.com dot slash forward slash page.html is an absolute URL. It points to the exact location on the internet. But a relative URL is a path related to the current page locations. For example, images slash photo.jpg points to a file inside the images folder in your project. So, relative URLs are useful for linking files within the same website because they don't depend on the full web address. In short, use absolute URL for external website and relative URLs for your own files in your project folder. We can use image as a link. In HTML, you can turn an image into a clickable link by placing the image tag inside a tag. This means that when user clicks the image, they are redirected to the specified link instead of clicking on text. This is an example of nested tag. Link to an email address. In HTML, you can create a hyperlink that allows user to send an email directly by using mail to inside the href attribute. When clicked, the link will open the user's default email program with the recipient's address already filled in. Button as a link. An HTML button does not act as a link by default. To make a button behave like a link, you need to use JavaScript to specify an action when the button is clicked. JavaScript can handle the events such as onClick, allowing you to direct the user to another page or URL when the button is clicked. We use button tag and add onClick attribute. In HTML, we can create a bookmark. Bookmarks are useful for navigating long web pages. To create a bookmark, create the bookmark using the ID attribute on the target element. Add a link that points to that ID. When the link is clicked, the page will scroll directly to the bookmarked location, either up or down. Here I have used two paragraph tags, and in that we have added a tag directing to two IDs, A Paris and A Tokyo. How to add background image in an HTML. To add background image to an HTML element, use the style attribute with a CSS background image property. This allows you to set an image behind the content of an image, such as div or section. Background cover. To make the background image cover the entire element, use the background size cover property. To ensure the image always covers the element even when scrolling, use background attachment fixed. This approach keeps the image proportional and prevents stretching, filling the element completely while maintaining its original aspect ratio. A table in HTML is used to organize information into rows and columns, just like a chart or a spreadsheet. The TD tag stands for table data. It defines a single cell inside a row where we put the actual content like numbers or text. The TR tag stands for table row. Each TR creates a new horizontal row in the table. The TH stands for table header. It works like a table data, but it is used for heading cells, usually at the top of the table or the start of the row. By default, text inside the TH is bold and centered. So in short, TR makes rows, TD makes normal data cells, and TH makes heading cells in the table. In HTML, tables can have borders to separate rows, columns, and cells. With CSS, we can style these borders in many different ways. Some common border styles are dotted, dashed, solid, double groove, ridge, inset, outset, none, and hidden. Finally, we can use none to remove border completely or hidden to keep the table structure but not show the border. So by combining the HTML and CSS, we can fully control how table borders appear, whether simple, decorative, or 3D styled. Now let's create a HTML table. Now use h1 tag to create the table heading as HTML table. Now open table tag and that use tr tag. Within that you will be using th tag, 3th tag, company, contact, country. Now close the tr tag, open another tr tag. In that pass 3 data using td tag, hexagon digital services, another td tag to pass the contact details, Aman Sahu, and another td data to pass the country name, that is India. Now close the tr tag, open another tr tag, pass 3 td tags, td, in that Google, next td tag to pass the name Raj Shukla, and another td tag to pass the country name Australia. As you can see that how the table appears without table borders. Now we will style the table. Table, comma th, comma td, curly braces open, border 1 pixel. This defines the thickness and solid and black color. Now you can see how the table appears. We will use border collapse property and pass the value collapse to merge the table borders and cell border. Use background color property to color the background of the table. Now we will use certain CSS properties to style our table. Let's create another table. Now let's move to HTML tables with advanced features. First, we have the header for multiple columns. If you want a table header to stretch across more than one column, you can use call_span attribute inside the th element. Next is the table caption. The caption tag lets you add a little description for the table. This caption works as a heading for the entire table. Then comes cell padding. Cell padding is simply the space between the cell border and the cell content. By default, the padding is set to 0, but you can adjust it using CSS padding. Moving to Moving on to call span. The call span attribute allows a single cell to span across multiple columns. Similarly, we have row span. The row span attribute allows the cell to stretch across multiple rows. Finally, column styling. You can use call group element to style a specific column in a table, such as getting their width, color, or background. These advanced these advanced features make your table more powerful and easier to format. Let's create a table for a month of a year. A list is a way to group related items together on a web page. HTML provides three types of list. The first one is unordered list. We use UL tag to make unordered list. This is a list where the items do not follow any particular order. The second one is ordered list. We use OL tag to make ordered list. In this list, the items are arranged in a specific order, usually numbered. We can change the numbering style using the numbers, letters, or Roman numerals. The third one is a description list. This list is used to define the terms with their description. It uses two tags, dt for the term and dd for its description. Let's create a list now. Create an heading using h1 tag and unordered list. Use ul tag to create unordered list. In that, use li tag to list items. We will be creating three list items: apple, orange, grapes. As you can see that unordered list is created. Now use another h1 tag to give the heading an unordered list. Now use ol tag to create ordered list. In that, use li tag to list items. Here we have the same apple, orange and grapes. Now you can note the difference here that the list items are numbered as 1, 2, 3. Now give another heading description list. Now use dt tag to give data term and dd to describe that term. Apple in dt and an apple keeps a doctor away in dd. Same with grapes and orange. Same with grapes and orange. Let's style the list using style attribute in the UL tag to display the list items. Let's see how we can create a nested list in HTML. A list within a list is known as nested list. Now let's see what is div element in HTML. A div element is a container used to group other HTML elements together. It is commonly used together to structure sections of the web page. Characteristics of the div. By default, div is a block level element. It takes up the full available width. It automatically creates line breaks before and after. The div has no required attribute, but style, class, and ID are frequently used. Using div as a container, developers often use div developers developers often use div to wrap sections of a page, making it easier to style, position, or manage content. That brings us to the end of our HTML lecture. We hope you found it helpful and understood everything clearly. Stay tuned for the CSS lecture tomorrow at 6 p.m. Before we wrap up, we have an exciting announcement. We are launching our MERN Stack training batch where you will receive personalized mentorship and learn MERN Stack in depth. For more details and to register, check out the links in the description box. Thank you for watching and we will see you in the next lecture.